All right, all right. So let's start. And today, thank you everyone for being here with us today. We're super excited to talk about storytelling and how, of course, to storytell in up smashing and in style with Edpuzzle. So let me, oh God, let me just, okay, I made it. So last May, Cecilia and I took the May challenge and we decided to talk about a very popular topic among teachers of all subjects. Once a week, we provided hints and tips to create the perfect storytelling combination between Edpuzzle and the competencies we would like our students to build. So today we will show you two practical examples on how to apply these techniques to achieve students' potential. Cecilia.
Yes. So, hi again, Cecilia. So, we will be talking about like why storytelling. So, we'll get into that in just a moment. Why Ed Puzzle, like how we merging the two together. You're going to get the opportunity to meet Luna and Theo. Can't wait to show them to you. And then we're just going to talk about like how you go from story to that social emotional learning piece. And then lastly, taking all of that and saying you can also do these same things using Book Creator and then app smashing with Ed Puzzle.
Of course, and it's gonna be amazing, let me tell you that. So, why
Yes,
storytelling, Cecilia?
because as we know, stories are memorable. Stories can be relatable and they're emotional as well. And so students can thrive off of these things. They help students to explore complex ideas in simple ways, like talking about social emotional learning can be complex, but you can break this down through storytelling. And then it's also just a great way to introduce SEL topics like empathy, listening, and kindness to students through stories.
Of course, and then of course, why Edpuzzle? Because thanks to Edpuzzle, we can make any video interactive. We can add concept check questions. We can engage students into meaningful learning, and of course, make them understand concepts that will be difficult to get if there wasn't for visuals. So, there you go. This is the layout of the story created in Canva and upsmashed in Edpuzzle. The two main characters are Theo and Luna, typical characters that you can find in fairy tales for educational purposes, like moral tales like the ones of Aesop's. The two main characters will start a journey where they will meet animals in need, and with the power of listening, they will help them effectively.
All right, so here we see on this slide is an example slide of the crying squirrel. So in a story, Luna and Theo meet a squirrel who needs help. So giving them that like real world kind of perspective, but using the animals to help them. And then here you can embed those questions to check for their understanding of what's going on here. So like, for example, what would you do if someone looks sad or lost something? So giving students the opportunity to answer. And then as the teacher, you can go in and see how your learners are responding. And at the same time, we are also developing that skill of empathy and that emotional awareness by putting them in that situation and putting ourselves in the roles of the characters that you create.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this scene is from a storyboard plus a question box. So this was created in Canva. And you may want to talk a little bit more about that, Claudia.
Yes, yes, yes. Then, of course, after Cecilia, so Cecilia told you everything, and then in a second I will show you the full story. But then after we decided to create kind of a, at the end of the story, kind of a reflection and morale. So it's a moment of reflection that helps students understand that listening with their heart is much more meaningful than listening without empathy. So I'm going to show you the full story that it is this one. So basically what you have here, it's the very beginning of the story where we brainstorm like, have you ever, do you like stories? What do you think the story might be about? And then of course
Luna
carry
and
on.
Theo, the power of listening.
Spoiler alert, we made the voiceover. So how cool is that? I love that every second of it. Can you imagine? I'm in Italy, Cecilia is in the US, and we created magic. How cool is that? So here we got like a teaser going. Who do you think Theo and Luna are? A little bit of brainstorming, and then of course we meet
Once up
Leo, sorry, Theo and Luna. Sorry, my English is waving goodbye. So we meet Theo and Luna, and we discover they are two adorable animals that they're going into a path to find something amazing. So here, all the animals of the forest are gathered with the magic owl. The magic owl is very wise, and um, he asked them about the magical power of listening. So they have to go through a path and find, as I
Luna the
told you,
fox
some
was
animals, even though they're very different from each other, because Luna and Theo, one is very volcanic and the other one is more, likes more to be, to think about things without, like, Theo is not very much so, but anyway, so you carry on and we go into two different adventures. Then of course you got that in the presentation so you can browse it at your own time and pace. And of course, concept check
along the
question.
way. They heard someone crying.
How cool is that?
It
So
was a little
basically,
squirrel who had lost their acorns.
so
Oh no.
I'm just so because it's so
That
cool. So here they're talking with the squirrel, and the squirrel is very, very sorry and is sad because he lost its acorn. And so what happened here is that Luna and Theo help the squirrel to find the acorns. And then they go and they've got, the porcupine that is mocked because it's got spikes. And so they're gonna listen I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit agitated. So they're basically talking to the porcupine because they're very sorry and wants the porcupine to be happy. Therefore, after all the good action,
because they
oh,
truly listened, they had found the harmony seed.
there you go. So basically, here you've got the howl telling them that they had a good job, they created amazingness with the other animals, and then you've got the morale. As we said, that
Listening
listening
with
with
your
the
heart
heart.
helps others feel seen, heard, and loved.
So
And
this is the morale, and at the end of the story, we ask our students, what does listening to your heart mean to you? Can you think of a time you did that? So the story goes into perspective. So the students have the power to show us what they've understood and maybe talk about their personal experiences as well. So total social emotional learning, if I may. And uh, I actually tried that on a bunch of primary school students and they were very, very happy. Although the level of English is, of course, I'm in Italy, so the level of English is not as proficient, but they understood thanks to visuals. And this is the added value that even learners of English can have through the power of listening and, of course, the power of up smashing with Canva and Edpuzzle. Right. And then there you go. We got the follow up, Cecilia, right?
Yes, so you can create your own story using Canva, and hopefully you know, but if you didn't, as educators, we get the Canva Pro for free as long as you use your educator email. So I would highly suggest you do that because there are so many great templates that you can use in there to help you set the backdrop for your story. And in a second, we're going to kind of get into Book Creator and how I use Book Creator to create books for my students in there. And then as you saw Claudia with the narration. So again, just giving that UDL to it where it's narrating for your learners as well, because as we know, as much as we would love to think that they always read, sometimes they just need that extra push to help them
Yeah.
get through it because we don't want that to be a barrier. And then it lets your students explore social emotional learning.
So there you go. Here is the book that Cecilia created, an amazing book. So you've got the book and then you've got the upspection wizard puzzle. So I'm trying hopelessly, yeah, to move this because I wanted to show you the book. So this is the book that Cecilia created. As you can see, very, she really took care of explaining everything and all, and then she up smashed it with a puzzle. How cool is that? So Cecilia, tell us a little bit more about your job. Love it.
Yes. So earlier, as Jesus introduced me, he said that I teach AP Environmental Science. I also teach honors bio at my high school. And sometimes I just really need my students to intake information. And so what I do is I'll take like articles and then I make them into books. So I try to make them like more palatable and easy for my learners to want to get through it. But because again, I teach high schoolers who always just love to get by, I put it into Edpuzzle to make it easier, but it also really honestly helps me to do my check for understandings so that I can see what concepts my students are understanding, what concepts they are not, so that when I come in the next day after reviewing like the grades and what the students, how they scored or how they responded to my open-ended questions, I then know how and where I need to meet my learners or how I need to organize the groups because maybe you might understand like patterns of inheritance, whereas you may still be struggling with understanding those things. And again, it just makes it a lot easier for my students to want to engage in this process. So
Let's
you,
browse a little bit the puzzle.
yes.
Right. So what did you do here?
So here, I always, because even though this is in the book form, I still want them to have the paper in front of them,
Right.
hopefully reading along with me or at least, making their notes and jotting. So I always include on my first slide, like a note where it says basically pause this video, make sure you have your handout. But
Of
if
course.
they've lost, forgot, don't know where their handout is, it's hyperlinked there.
There
So
you
that's
go. There
one
you go.
great feature that I love because now you can't say, oh, I couldn't watch it because I didn't have the handout. No, it's right there. Click on it. You now have access to it. And then, I give them instructions just to let them know, like, hey, I am still here with you. We are still
Yeah.
working side by side in partnership. So I leave like these little notes for them. And then I also, record everything that it says on the screen. And my students really do appreciate that.
Perfect. Then let's
Scopes.
go. Let's browse and let's go here. What is this?
And so here are those questions that I was talking about that you can embed in here. Just again, this for me just serves really as those check for understandings, those checkpoints, because I'm a modern classroom educator. And so to determine sometimes how I want to set up my groups the next day, I need to basically know where they are so that I can meet them and then help them grow before they get to their mastery check. And I'm just telling you, it revolutionized like my high school classroom because
Mm,
again it lets them understand that we are working together. This is not a race, it is a journey, and we're on this journey together. And like I said, and then by me including visuals, that also helps
yeah.
them to conceptualize, because let's be honest, biology sometimes it can be really abstract. Like I can't bring in a
Mm,
cell to the class, but I can also put this into this book that they are able to read. So it's like my own personal collection of audiobooks. That's really what I tell them. I was like, one day in my next life, maybe I'll be an audiobook narrator or something like that, and just encouraging them. And then also on the flip side of this, you can have your learners create books because my learners create books
with each
and then they
other.
upload them.
all right. I'm sorry. I had to because I want to browse the whole book. I'm sorry. It's so good.
I
It's
know
too
I
good. I
can
want
talk
to share.
forever. Stop me anytime, Claudia, because I can go on when I get on these things.
I love it. 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 So this is another example that you're giving us to show another kind of storytelling because this is storytelling 100%, right? So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so basically, like I said, here again is just taking what we normally would have done as high school educators and say, here's this article, read it. But then this is also another way for me to explain where, like I said, when I start talking too much, they can pause me and they can come back when they're ready. And like I tell them, you can't do that in the real world, but you can definitely do this in the virtual realm. And you can always go back and
Right.
work at your own pace, which is the number one thing that I love about this is allowing them to be able to work at their own pace. Mhm.
Yeah, and then, this is amazing what you said because basically then if they don't understand a concept that they can rewatch it and when they rewatch it and then they can understand then they got visuals as well that helps them so much. So this is amazing. It's a win-win situation and it's a book but it's interactive. And I think your students are very, very happy to have you as a teacher because this is something amazing. And you know what? Biology, not my strength. But I read your book and I loved every minute of it because you created the right environment and I think teachers, I'm sorry, students won't feel threatened, even though it's kind of difficult. but you made it easy. So thank you. This is amazing. This is amazing. Thank you
Critical.
so much.
And I
Thank
saw
This
they
is
had a
also
question in the
why the
chat.
information.
So
oh, sorry.
I'm gonna let you play that in a second just to answer. So I first made the book in Book Creator. This is
Yes,
adapted from STEM Scopes. So I use STEM Scopes with my students in the classroom.
right.
And this is normally like their STEM Scopedia, where before doing it this way, I would just give them the article and say, read it. But I did not
Right.
have very high success rates with that way of
Mm,
disseminating this information to them. So I said, okay, let me take this same information, put it into Book Creator, and then so here's it's two part, it's really a three-part step. So I make the book in
great.
Creator, and then I actually record myself reading the book using
Mm,
Screencastify or ScreenPel, depending on
yeah,
whichever flavor of the day I feel. And
yeah.
then I upload that video into Edpuzzle. So it is a three-part process of how I get from Book Creator to Edpuzzle. So this is actually a screen recording of me reading the book in one of
Right.
the screen casting apps, whichever one. And yes, you can also now record in Edpuzzle using the extension. So this was kind of pre that, but I would suggest
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
utilize that feature as well.
Well, I think the fact of the voiceover helps students so much because they've got, it's kind of an immersive storytelling because you've got video, you've got audio, you've got concept check questions. If you feel that you don't get what you've just read, you can watch it again. You don't feel threatened. You feel that you can learn with your own pace, your own time, but you can. And this is amazing. This is a situation that I love. And even for students that are in special education, this is amazing because they can really make this tool can really make a difference. And yeah.
Yes.
And then of course we can carry on. We got other concept check questions. And
Structural purposes
yes,
or regulate how the genetic
and
information
then
within
of course you're going with voiceover, etc., etc. You are lucky because you've got this book in our resources so you can use it with your students
cell.
and give us feedback.
Parts of the
Amazing, amazing, amazing. And then beyond the classroom, what does it mean? What is this?
So yeah, I always like to continue the learning. So it's like, okay, now that you stop, because I actually do have some students who want to delve more deeply because they actually
Mhm.
care about these concepts and these things that we're learning about in class. So then I like to add in that real world component because
Oh,
as a high school teacher of 20 years, I would always get, so why is this important to me? How does this impact my life? Like, creating that bridge to real world application. So I'm like, okay, so now let's go and make these connections to your real world, real life,
yeah.
day-to-day experiences of how does this impact you? Because some of them may go on to become like dog breeders and understanding that. And that's what I tell them, or some of them may go into being like geneticists and different things like that. So just trying to make those STEM connections in my classroom is one of the big things. And I always put that at the end.
Wow. Amazing, amazing.
for all the traits passed
And
between
then, of course, you've got the grand finale, that is this one. And of course, what did you put here? What is this? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So I love notes. So I like my kids know I always leave. I call them my love notes. And so at the end of it, I tell them like, you may be asked to complete this assignment. If this assignment is not assigned, it's still a great topic to do further research on because I'm trying to get my students away from thinking that every single thing that they do has to be for a grade. And I tell them some things have to just be for the betterment of yourself.
Of
And
course.
so I always put that disclaimer like, I might pick this up, I might not, but just go ahead and do the research just so that you can know and have a better understanding of like how gene therapies work in class. And another thing that I do sometimes is we'll have like these great debates in class about these things. And so the more knowledgeable they are, the more likely their team might win. And so my students are really competitive in that sense. So they know like, you know what, let me look this up. And a lot of them really do, knowing that they're not going to get a grade in the grade
Yeah,
book.
yeah, yeah. They do it for the pleasure of doing it, to for to get to know a little bit more and discuss in class, and it's amazing. This is something, yeah, I love it so much, and this is kind of a formative assignment. I said, okay, you do it, you don't do it. If you do it, you will see it's gonna be amazing because you will learn a lot. Perfect. Thank you, Cecilia. So you've got everything here. You've got everything in the presentation. These are some bits and pieces of Cecilia's presentation. And of course, we would like to thank you for being here with us, for listening to us, for listening with your heart. And to spend a little bit of time with us. And I hope you liked our presentation. And Cecilia, what would you like to say?
No, I just second everything you said. So hopefully you all are walking away with some great nuggets for your classroom and some inspiration for just things that you can try. And I always tell people that I encounter, just start small. If you do one in that school year, you have done more than you've done before. And so don't feel like you have to like do all of the things, just pick, one or two.